So, the SQuape from Stattqualm. This is the SQuape. Swiss Quality Vape. That's what it stands for. SQuape. Okay? It looks like a Bliss. It isn't a Bliss, I assure you. It is, in fact, much more like a K-Fun. It is a rebuildable, obviously. 22.7 millimeter, which is a little odd. So it doesn't really sit flush on anything. The height without the drip tip is about 55 millimeters. It weighs 82 grams. It's 510 threaded, of course. It has an adjustable center pin. It holds 5.2 milliliters of juice. The body of the device and the base are made of stainless steel. The internal chamber is made of an aluminum e-metal coating, which I'm not familiar with. So, I know that, aluminum fumes are not good for you and have been proven to cause Alzheimer's, but, I don't know if this is maybe a different material that's safer, but again, I'm not sure, so, but just wanted to mention that. It is knurled at the bottom, as you can see, and it's machine finished the rest of the way up. The tank is actually PMMA, it is not glass. And what you get with it is you get this little plastic box right here that comes with the SQuape. You have what they call the replacement kit, which includes extra O-ring, extra screws. There's an Allen wrench in there as well. They also include a little bit of Kanthal and some 3mm silica as well, which is the recommended wick material for the SQuape. So I did not use the recommended wick material. I mean, well, I did at first, and then I tried a bunch of different setups on this thing because I wanted to really kind of put it through the paces. So I ended up with a kind of an unusual mesh setup that I would recommend if you want to set it up with mesh, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But first, I want to give you a couple of websites. So first off, it's 139 Swiss francs, which comes out to about 150 bucks. There's the link for the site that I purchased it from. And here is the link for the manufacturer website as well, if you want to check either of those out. Okay. Let's see here. The atomizer deck on this is interesting. So, first of all, it's not adjustable airflow like a K-Fun. It's more like a K-Fun Lite. You have this one hole, and I'm actually going to take autofocus off here so we can do all close-ups, so 1 second. Alright, so first of all, you have your adjustable 510 connection, and then you also have a serial number. This one's 223. And then you have these slots in the side for airflow. So, which is kind of nice. So actually, if you use this on a device that has a flat top cap with no air channels, it actually will still vape properly, which is kind of cool. So that's the airflow through that one little hole in the side. Okay. Drip tip is removable, of course. It's not like the K-Fun where you have a built-in drip tip, and then you also have a the ability to use it with an adapter. It comes with a drip tip, which I'm not using on here because it's very long. I'm using a little fake True Flow on here, New Flow or Faux Flow or whatever you want to call it. But I want to show you, so this is actually pretty cool about this device here. So one thing that's different with this than the K-Fun, even the K-Fun Lite, is you don't have to, you can take it apart and fill it. So what you have here is you have the cone, which you can see there. I'm not going to tilt it too much because it has juice in it and it'll flood on me. But you have the cone on the inside there, which has that aluminum enamel coating, and the cone actually screws in to the device. So it's actually screwed in here, and you can see it's got a hex. Let me see if I can tilt it enough. You can see there it's got a hex screw or hex hole where you use the Allen key to actually screw this cone into the top of the device, which is pretty neat. So, so you just take the base off. Basically, you flip it upside down. You take the base off, and then you could fill it with a syringe down the side in the space between the cone and the outside ring of the tank. So it's very, very easy to fill. Now, as far as the Addy deck is concerned, this has also got that aluminum kind of enamel coating on it. Now, I tried a whole mess of different setups on this guy. So, now with silica, if you set it up the way that they say to set it up, which basically is with a double 3mm silica wick that's exactly as long as that base. So you just cut it off right at the edges, but it's double thick, so you have one piece of silica down through the channel, and then you have a second piece of silica that rests on top of it, and the coils are wrapped around both. It doesn't flood. You don't get dry hits unless you go, you know, real low ohm with it. I wanted to set it up with mesh. I even wanted to try setting it up with unoxidized mesh. And I did successfully because that coating is non-conductive. So it makes it really easy to set this thing up with mesh. So I tried a bunch of different mesh setups on this guy, and it just it gave me fits because it would either be dry or it would flood. I tried setting it up with a piece of mesh that went across the length of the top and then not have anything in these little channels on the side that you see here. Then I tried putting a piece of mesh like what you see here and then two little wrap pieces of mesh that fit those channels snug. That didn't work. Tried the piece of mesh like what you see here and put silica in the sides. That didn't work. Both of those setups gave me really, really dry hits. Now, then what I did was, all right, I said, okay, I'm going to go back to mesh. I switched back over to mesh. These are all solid wicks, 200 mesh, okay? And I made a thinner wick that fits in there, but it isn't super snug. It's almost a little bit loose down those side channels. The wick down the center, that's still snug. But those two wicks down the side channels are just a tiny bit loose. I mean, they could, you know, if I shook it, they would probably fall out. They're not in there tight. That has proven to be basically a perfect vape. So, you know, it sounds more finicky than it actually is, you know, because it really is designed to be built with silica, and when I built it with silica, it worked fine right out of the gate. But I wanted to set it up with mesh because I knew that you could, and this is the build that I ended up with, and it's working really, really well, actually. It's a 0.9 ohm build. I've actually been using it on the Hannah between 16 and 18 watts, and it's been vaping great, and I haven't had any dry hits on it. This is with 30 gauge mesh. So anyway, you see the stainless steel screws there. It's a real easy setup. You just wrap the wick first before you put it in there, and then, you know, pull it under each one of those screws, screw it down tight, good to go. Pulse fire it until it's until the shorts are worked out, no problem. So yeah, that was kind of my experience with getting this guy set up. I didn't, you know, it took, like I said, it kind of took me a lot of trial and error to get it set up properly. But this build, if you're interested in getting a SQuape and you want to try it with mesh, I would recommend setting it up this way, because I have not had any issues with dry hits, and I have not had any issues with flooding since I set it up this way. It's 0.9 ohm, but I've been using it on a Hannah mod, so I've been vaping it between like 16 and 18 watts. I think, yeah, I have it set to 16 right now. So pretty interesting though. You know, it's real solid. It's pretty heavy. It's very bulky. I don't love the appearance, but again, you know, that's personal preference. I think it's kind of ugly, to be quite honest, but you know, personal preference, like I said. The drip tip hole, no issues with drip tips fitting. They all fit just fine. And it is very easy to set up if you set it up with silica. It's actually easy to set up if you set it up with mesh and get it right the first time. But you know, it is finicky with how you have to set it up. It doesn't take long to set it up, but it might flood, or you might get dry hits the first couple times until you kind of get that nice balance there. So, how does it vape? That's really what's important, right? So at 16 watts, I'm getting very good vapor production. It's actually pretty airy for me. I like a tighter draw, 1.1, 1.2 millimeter typically. This is a little airier than that, but it's not ridiculous. It's not like the Mister where you know feel like you're sucking through a straw. Um, the vapor is very warm. It's very thick and has a lot of flavor. It's actually, if you could easily set up a K-Fun with mesh, I mean, I know that you can set a K-Fun up with mesh, but it's really not set up to, and it's kind of difficult to do. I feel like this is about the same vape that you would get off of a K-Fun Light. The airiness is about the same. The K-Fun Light seems to vape kind of like a K-Fun, but with the draw open almost all the way, and that's about how airy this is. But again, like I said, the flavor is very good. The vapor production, as you can see, is very good, and it's not, you know, I'm not at a ridiculously low ohm here. So yeah. So to summarize, I would say, you know, positives and negatives. I think, you know, it's a good vape. If you want to set it up with mesh, it's going to take you probably a little bit of time. I recommend trying that build, like I said, where you have the kind of slightly loose mesh wicks through the side channels, and then the relatively snug piece of mesh through the top. You don't need to oxidize it though at all, because the material surrounding is not conductive, so you don't have any issues with hot spots really. You can just pulse fire them out. So I did find, while pulse firing it to get the hot spots out, that the base of the device gets super hot. So be wary of that. You know, maybe pulse fire it a little slower than you normally would, because it will get very, very hot. But yeah, overall, I think it's a very good atomizer. The only, you know, like I said, the only negatives I think is it looks kind of goofy, which is just personal preference. Some people like the look. It is bulky and it's heavy. So if you're looking for something compact, this is definitely not it. And questionable material internally. I don't know a lot about it. So, you know, maybe do a little bit of research on the that aluminum enamel coating that they use on the inside before you go purchasing one. So, but overall, it's a good vape, and I would have to give it a thumbs up, certainly for performance. So, all right, SQuape. I should try mesh wrapped around, what now? Silica. Yeah, I might try that, the nerve. I went through so many damn builds on this trying to get it right, though. I was just kind of, I really wanted to do a straight mesh build because I really do prefer the flavor of mesh. But I bet you're right. I bet the mesh silica hybrid build would probably work quite well.